Welcome to Permission for Pleasure, where we empower women and men to create liberated fempires, anchored in leadership harmony in service of your highest mind, body, and soul wellness. I am your host, Amy Jones, and in today's episode, we're going to be connecting with Cary Rose, a spiritual healer of pain. Cary has such a profound and inspiring story of how he stepped fully into owning who he is today, a healer. I'm just ready to jump right in and welcome Cary to share with you his empowering personal journey of how he has welcomed mind, body, and soul wellness anchored in leadership harmony. Cary, it is my pleasure to have you here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So I would like to understand, I know a little bit about your story, but I'd love for you to share with our listeners today what has inspired you to share where you are, to share your healing, to share your message. Let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I mean, my pretty much one and only inspiration for everything that I do is my higher power. Okay, so like you may call it God, call it whatever you want, but I have my own, and I have a one-on-one relationship with it, and it just makes me want to do nothing but good all the time. Feel good about doing it, and it's my life's purpose. Like a lot of people have a hard time finding that life's purpose, and I was gifted the ability to just use my energy and just heal people all over the globe in seconds. Like some there are people out there with neck problems or whatever, or knee problems or lower back problems, whatever it is. I actually send a prayer up to that God of mine, and it chooses whether it's going to heal you or not me. I never take ownership of what I'm capable of doing, because I can't do it without that behind me and in front of me and like kind of everywhere. So if there's an inspiration or what's pushing me, is it's God. And I'm one of the people who, when I was a little kid, believed that the world was small and could be changed, and I could change it. And then I experienced life, and life was tough, and wife and kids and responsibility and bills. And then all of a sudden, the world got enormous to me. It was huge. And then through some things I'm sure we'll speak about a little later on, everything shifted back to small, and everything shifted back to inside my control, and everything shifted into what the real problems are. And I know that some people aren't going to like this, but I can only really work with women. I can't work with men because everything is opposite for me. Like it just is. When I help a female, there's gratitude, there's respect, there's trust, there's everything. Anytime I try to help a male, I have to re-help over and over again, deal with ego and deal with so many things that my gender brings to the table. And it just teaches me more and more each time that I make that attempt, that I know where I need to focus on, and I know what God wants me to do. And God wants me to be that strength behind the females that just don't have it. The ones that ran into relationships with narcissists and whatnot and had their souls basically taken from them. They don't realize when they say they don't need a man, they're right, but they need something that's going to make them feel safe and secure. And I do my best to provide that for pretty much every female I encounter that's going through pain. And it's like, this is the driving force for me. That's what my goal is. That's who is guiding me. And then my purpose is to ultimately flip the script and have women out front, men out back, like it's supposed to be, where we protect and we create that strength and security. And the women who are more powerful at actually doing things can get out there and do it freely without the burden of men and all the abuse that comes with dealing with us. So that's my purpose. I mean, I guess.
Love it. And I just want to kind of touch on a few things that are coming to me as you're talking. One, before we connected, you'd asked how I was feeling, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of feeling blah and foggy. And you're like, let me take care of it. And I will contest that I feel clearer and cleaner and like less kind of like plugged up. So, and I know that you've worked with me in the past and you are the real deal, but it all comes down to faith and believing. And I think that's a little bit of the masculine and the feminine, the men and the women, because the women are essentially the energetic leaders of expansion. And so I'm not surprised that you're hesitant to connect into the men, because the men are at a different spot energetically, no discount to where they are. The feminine energy within us goes first. And, the whole world is going through a rebirth. And I love that you're here to create that safe sacred space for women. And I look at your Michael Jordan behind you holding the arms, and that's literally what you're doing. You're holding a safe space to allow women to let go and to believe and to trust and to allow in them to rise in their leadership. And you're creating the safety by connecting in with their masculine to create safety so that they can lead. And it's a beautiful gift. And I love that you're focusing on women because we are the leaders. The feminine energy is rising globally. And that's why we're in this sort of tornado soup right now. And it's a real honor and a privilege to have you hold space for us. And I want to say thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And, like the poster behind me is actually called Wings, so it represents a lot. And, it's just funny how people perceive my behavior. They're like, oh, you only work with women because you want to take advantage of them. I'm like, I have a wife that I've been with for 27 years. I have a 21-year-old daughter. I have a 23-year-old niece, and they're all stronger and better than I am. So it's
Oh,
like, I know it. Like, I could have all the power in the world to do all that I do. I know where the power lies, so I just get behind it. I'm not here. And it's funny. Like, if you notice when I talk to you, I didn't talk to you like I was a man or a woman, or you were a man or woman. I talked to you like you were a human. Like, I asked you questions like a human. I was never delicate with you because I'm not delicate. I'm not built to be delicate. But you know what? It's nice to be treated as a human every once in a while. And me personally, I felt it. Like, people don't understand like what it's like. It's not a man woman thing. It's like a narcissism thing. I
it's
work
a
for
respect thing.
huh?
It's a
Sorry.
respect.
It's respect, but everybody is eating it in a certain way in this world. Like, I had a 13-year narcissist boss where I ate his shit for 13 years. And I couldn't leave. My loyalty kept me there for 13 years because I just would not go because I was too loyal to the job, the everything. So I ended up getting myself fired. And then that actually created a lot of happiness for me. But I had to get fired to get away from it. I did it to myself on purpose. I couldn't think of any other way out.
Yeah.
So I felt the pain. I know what it's like to be held under somebody and having your loyalty abused, and no matter how bad they are, they just keep coming back and smiling at you and promising you things, and for some reason, because of comfort, you believe these people. And then so I learned. Like, I'm not someone who didn't experience. I learned from it. So through learning in the thing, I can now help anybody who's going through, because I know every one of their feelings. I know exactly all their feelings. 13 years of it.
Tell me more about the challenges that have gotten into your path along the way. What are some things that maybe other people can connect with in some more detail? And how did you move through these challenges?
Well, the biggest challenges that I went along the way was when I did get myself fired from my job. Nobody understood that for the first time ever, they were seeing that a happy version of me. So they were all concerned, and
Confused.
yeah, they were confused. I was so up and so happy that I was away from these people that I could not control it. I ended up, causing me to be awake for 6 straight days because I didn't know my energy was really that intense. But happy building me and building me and building me. And then unfortunately that sixth day ended up with a little bit of a hallucinate. I was hallucinating a little bit, and I might have started feeling some things. And in the end, on that day, I actually morphed into God on the street. So if you want to talk about what got me in my way, I got in my way. Like just not understanding myself, and that put me in a hospital. And the strongest guy everybody knows, the one that everyone comes to for like advice and everything, the one they come to when they need help, is in a mental hospital. What the hell is going on? And nobody really cared enough to try to figure out what's going on with me. They just started assuming things. And when people assume, they just pass judgment upon you. So now I'm crazy, right? Because I had a bad 6 days, and after 36 years, I'm in a mental hospital. So that was my roadblock. That was my point of actual shift the other way, from intense and strong and can kind of deal with all these people, to what the hell is going on in this world? Why doesn't anyone trust me anymore? So that was my roadblock, prior to actually finding what I needed to find, about 3 years later.
It's humbling because it's like everything you have is taken away from you and you're going through it in one reality. And then those around you, your wife and your children and your friends and family, are seeing it from a different reality. But it's all based on what you know that you've previously experienced. And I hear this story time and time again. You know, so many people that I've interviewed have been medicated, have been institutionalized because they're not fitting into the box of society and the reality that everybody knows. And for one reason or another, they either go through something that gets them to a point where enough is enough, or whatever, but then they come through it the other side and they realize they don't need those external people, places, or things. So it could be medication for you, it might have been your work environment or whatever. You break through and you realize this is actually who I am. And everybody's confused because you're like, this is different. Now I got to deal with it. And so how did your current reality, your previous reality, your friends and your family deal with this massive shift in your life?
It was catastrophically bad for me because all of my people fell apart. Like, you think in life you have these support staff members, and you're just gonna, you're always there for them, and then you kind of count on them to be there for you. And in these situations, it's not quite that black and white. My wife fell apart, my daughter fell apart, everyone fell apart. And it kind of taught me, like, it taught me everything. Actually, it didn't teach me then, but it taught me later on everything. Because after 3 years of dealing with this mental health nonsense and going back and forth with denial about it and everything else I went through, like, my wife was like my rock, the one who drives me for success. All the other stuff was like, she was like a ghost. She was like, her husband had passed away. That's how she kind of was acting. She didn't know how to operate. And if you notice, like, I'm all about lions and lions and lions, and people ask me, like, why are you all into lions? I go, well, lions tell you everything. The male lion just sits there and doesn't do anything. That's just like me,
Yeah.
and the lion out there and hunts and gathers and does everything for that male lion and its cubs and everything else. But when that male lion decides to leave the pride, the lioness falls over. She can't even operate. She has no strength without him. So years later, I just figured that out. I'm like, why was she so bad at helping me? And then I realized because she was hurting more than I was. Like her strength was out. Like, I took it down. And then here we are. Like, I want to say roughly 5 years after my last episode I've had. My wife is the happiest I've ever seen her and the strongest. So we fall together, we rise together, and a lot of people just don't understand that. And the mental health will kill relationships because people don't understand this. Like, why aren't people supporting? Well, they don't understand you. That's why. You don't understand them, and they don't understand you. So a lot of times it really comes down to everyone has to separate during hard times and kind of guide each other in different ways because everyone's going through it. So, like, when I'm in the hospital, my wife was in the hospital. When I was feeling all off, my wife was feeling all off. And then again, I wish I would have known during. It would have been easier for me to be a better support staff for her during what I was like, don't worry, everything's going to be fine type of a deal. Meanwhile, I was just angry. I was angry at everybody for not trusting me. All I am is the truth, and I can't get some trust. Like, no, you don't trust me that I'm okay. And I mean, the best part about me being in the hospital is the first time I'm in the hospital, they wanted to exit me like less than 3 days in, which is the minimum amount of time. And not a single doctor saw me. So I lost it in there. I had met 3 days worth of the kindest people you've ever seen in your life. Just tried to commit suicide, drug problems, alcohol, but these were the kindest people in the world. And they were stuck in a mental hospital because they were free thinkers. And because I was a patient, guess who they talked to? They talked to me. I was like a light bulb in a very dark room. This is where I learned I have gifts because I talked to them and then they felt better. I was exiting patients before they ever could because they talked to me. I listened, I gave them solutions. People just need to be listened to, and their feelings are important. So, but the mental health system is just terrible in what they do to people. You act a little bit different, they just throw you on in. So,
Yeah, I think you hit it right there on the nail. It's you have to slow down enough and create enough space to turn off the autopilot and the knee jerk. Well, you have this, let's give you this, and just listen. It might take you 20 years to solve a problem as opposed to taking a pill and it's gone like that. And we're in a society of instant gratification and volume and gluttony and greed. And so there's no surprise. And this is why I'm so um what's the word I'm looking for? Passionate about this community that I'm creating, this mind, body, soul, global wellness community, because I deeply believe everything around you, people, places, and things that you're attached to, if you release those attachments, your pureness of who you are, your wellness is here. But there's so much attached, over top, and suffocating. We don't even see it. And when you flip it and you allow yourself to be well, And in your case, you're listening to people and you're creating space for them to be well. You're eventually not going to need any of those people, places, and things external that are suffocating and suppressing who you are. And, you said like when you were going through this, your wife was going through this. It's no surprise because the leader was down and she didn't have leadership because she didn't realize she had to lead herself. So as you were learning how to lead yourself, she's also learning how to lead yourself interdependently. And then you're coming back together. I would quite imagine stronger together, like you just said, because you're both independently whole and you're coming in a partnership versus, maybe an entanglement where a lot of people kind of run into the problems. You don't realize I'm going to marry this person and life's going to be great. But what about who you are right now? You're great just as you are. And I love that you create space to see people, to listen to people, and to allow them to show their greatness for who they are right now. And I love that. And it's powerful. And this is why I'm really excited to have you here because I just want to like share your gift with everybody because
Well,
everybody deserves to be seen and heard and listened
I'm
to.
gonna get everybody. Like when this is over, I'm gonna have everybody. Like
I'm
I
okay
want
with
all 7 billion people. I want all.
I can't wait for you guys to hear. I'm going to talk with Corey after with Corey after he knows a little bit about what's going on, but I can't wait for you to hear what is coming in our world. It's gonna change the game of mental health, and I'm really excited. And it's available for everybody. And yeah, and like you said, you get institutionalized and you get exited before you get a chance to even like check the boxes because they don't have a box to fit you in. Well, we can't give you this, so out you go. You know?
Yeah, they told me I was just fine. Like, really? Why was I here?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
dragged this place for what? For nothing? And they're like, it's not nothing. I mean, you did have an episode
You
out
just
there,
don't
blah blah
fit
blah.
in the box, so they have nowhere to put you.
But here's the
You don't need
best
a box.
part. The doctors in the hospital that I was with initially, after I'd had my episode, so
Yeah.
like, you're good. They were telling me I'm good, I'm fine. Everything is just fine. And then meanwhile, in the hallway, they were having a discussion about if he doesn't go to a hospital on his own free will, we're going to Baker Act him, which means we're going to commit him. So they're in there telling me that I'm all good. And then fortunately, one of my people was walking through the halls and heard this, like, yo, you better pay attention because if you don't go into a hospital, they're going to get you. I'm like, the guy just told me I'm all good. He goes, no, they're going to get you. I'm telling you. And then my wife had heard the same thing. It's crazy. So I'm like, all right, put me in the hospital. What do I care?
And it
Like
comes down to who do you believe? And we are a society that allows ourselves to be led externally because we don't know how to lead ourselves. And we don't know how
yeah.
to trust ourselves and believe in ourselves and see our value and see our worth. And so you trusted yourself and you're like, I'm good. I know, and I'm going to go. And I'd love to hear, I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I'd love to hear what you're passionate about, where you're going, what your vision is for the next few years. What's your
Well,
world looking like?
like I really have just been hiding on LinkedIn, with my abilities. I haven't really done anything with my abilities. Like my whole life, I've gone 1,000 miles an hour and then ended up hitting like brick walls because I just go too fast. So I actually had a medium who actually put me in the journey that gave me my abilities, is present in my life. And the one thing she constantly told me is she goes, you're going to get strong and you're going to get stronger. You must go slow and slower. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, trust me. You're going to want to just run out there. She goes, you're going to be out in the world. You're going to get yourself either killed or something bad's going to happen to you from trying to be some type of a savior. And I'm like, wow, this lady knows me well. She knows that I got this fire. So I literally built myself a plan
Yeah.
roughly 3 years ago that I wouldn't do anything with my abilities outside of LinkedIn or, referrals and whatnot until my 45th birthday. Now I'm an October baby. I just turned 44. So I'm on the countdown now to 45. And at 45 is when I'm actually going to start branding myself, who I am, what my name's going to be, like I have to be like, in order to accomplish my goals, I have to be a household name in the next 10 years. So if I'm not a household name in the next 10 years, my plans are going sideways because my plans are enormous. Like, I want really everything, like everything I possibly, I look at the Rock and I look at
I
him.
love your confidence, number one. Like I wish I talked like that when I was like 20.
But
I
you,
mean,
but
it did, but not
you
to the
may
conviction.
soon, you may
What's that?
soon, like, I'm contagious. Like, you may start talking this
Oh,
way
I'm
soon.
there. I'm there. I feel you exactly. I have a very massive mission, and there's no coincidence why we're connected. I'm really
Right.
excited for what's
But
gonna create in our
in
space.
in this particular world, the only way we can accomplish anything is what our social media looks like. You know, like what I was trying to say about like The Rock, he's got like 100 million plus followers. If he wants to, he's the president of the United States. If he wants, that's his choice. I would vote for him over what we have here. But you know what I mean? So once you have a presence of that nature,
Yeah.
then you have a voice, then you can actually do some things, then you can change the world. I kind of wanted to be president of the United States, was one of my goals, but then I realized the president has no power anyway. I'd rather be someone of influence versus someone who's just a puppet. So now, like, so your goals do change as you realize things, and like, how can I get to where I want to go as fast as I possibly can? And my goal, my overall goal, is a kind led world. So it's not that complicated. There's the majority of this world is kind, and people just don't understand that. But that 10% that's evil and narcissistic, that want everything for themselves, they're stronger than the 90% by a lot, because they know our weaknesses, and they feast on it, and they take advantage of it. So what I do, in part of the process of when I get involved with people emotionally, is I strengthen their courage. Once they have courage, they back down to the narcissist. They don't back down to that narcissist. You know, they actually stand up to a narcissist and realize that every narcissist that they've ever encountered is weak as shit. They're all weak people. They take advantage of our kindness.
And I love that you say you strengthen your courage, and your image right now is the lion, because do you remember Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, what the lion wished for when he
Oh
went to
yeah,
the wizard?
yeah. Well, that's me. I went to the wizard. You know
Courage.
what?
He wished
The
for
the wizard, all the courage I needed, but then gave me a couple extra gifts too.
courage.
You know, because I was just everybody else, just cowering down to these people. But
Yeah.
let a narcissist get close to me, it's going to be a dangerous day for them, because I'm just going to question them to death. You know, I just keep asking them questions that they're going to lie to me eventually, and I'm going to call them
Well,
out on
they're
their
not
lie.
gonna go they're not gonna go near you, and that is why you're supporting the women, to
Oh yeah,
create space for them to rise in their courage, to face their fears, and to
yeah.
create the life of their desires, not the one that's been handed to them. And that is so, so empowering. So
It,
empowering.
what it does for me is unspeakable, because every time I'm done messaging with somebody, the feeling I get is just, it's just, there's nothing like it. Like when I wake up every morning, I just hit the Powerball every single day of my life. So imagine that feeling that you just won $1 billion every day. That's how my life is like, because I'm helping at least 3 to 5 people a day minimum, and then some days I've helped as many as like 35, 40 people. Sometimes it just goes crazy. So it's what
And
I get at.
you're also living in purpose, which is
Mm,
also equally important, which fuels your energy. And I can speak to when I was not living in purpose. I was angry, depressed, sad, overwhelmed, confused, exhausted, heavy, just bleh. But when you live in your purpose, it's clean, it's clear, it's energizing. And so I totally know exactly what you mean when you're doing this, because it's fueling you, because you're paying forward this gift. And it's like this never ending well of goodness that you just keep gifting, because it keeps filling your bucket. Love it.
yeah, yeah, like yesterday, I decided to the mall, like to get like a new sweatshirt or something. I was looking for something with like a lion on it, something for this, so I can have like. Then I walk into like one store, I think it was Spencer's,
Yeah.
and then I just feel the energy off this girl at the register. And I'm like, wow, you're highly spiritual, aren't you? She goes, how do you know that? I go, I just do. Then I described her whole personality to her. She started freaking out. Then she had her back hurt, like, something in the middle of her back. I'm like, can I fix that for you? And she's like, sure. 3 seconds later, what the hell was that? I go, are you feeling better? And she's like, yeah, I am. I go, well, this was your moment in time. And she goes, what does that mean? I go, you've been living your life without purpose and very weakly and being taken advantage of. She goes, how do you know that? I go, because I was sent here to tell you that you're wrong. And it's time for you to live the way you want to live. And then she just looked at me. And then instead of having further dialogue, I just walked away and left. I wanted her to have her own moment of impact or whatnot. And then she caught me at the door, and she's like, can I have your number at least? I'm like, yeah, you can have my number. I gave her my number. Then I walked into a second store, and it was like Hot Topic, and this was Halloween, so everyone's like dressed up, just, and this one girl was asking me, I was asking like for a shirt that was either like spiritual or lionish, and she goes,
Yeah.
"Why are you looking for like a spiritual?" Like, well, I'm a healer. She goes, "No way." I'm like, "Yeah," and then she goes, I go, "Do you have any pain?" And she goes, "Yes." I'm like, "Where's your pain?" And then she told me, and then I just like healed her pain. She goes, "What the hell is going on?" I go, "I can't really tell you that." But then I described her whole personality to her and said the same thing I said to the other girl, and she looked at me like, "Who are you?" And then finally, I went into the third store, which is an East West store, which is like stones, stones and stuff like that. And I wanted to work there, and I just catch her. I healed her back, her shoulders, and both of her knees. She goes, "I was gonna have surgery and all this stuff, and blah blah blah." And then I said,
What?
and then I told her, I go, "Listen, all your pain that you have is nothing compared to the weakness you're living with." She's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Stop letting people walk all over you." And she goes, "How do you know that?" I go, "Because you're a magnet for the bad." And she goes, "You're right. You're right." I'm like, "What?" And then I said, "Why?" And she goes, "I don't know." I go, "You don't know that you're a people pleaser? You don't know that you just do everything everyone else wants? You don't know that you don't care about your own happiness?" And she's like, "What are you?" I go, "You'll figure it out." And then I left. So like I get to do this, and then as I'm going out, her coworker goes, "I have a pain in my sciatica," and I'm like, "Oh, you do?" She goes, "Can you help me with that?" I'm like, yeah. I was able to get 4 live heels going to look for a shirt for this, and you know what? No shirt. I didn't.
Oh,
So I had to stick to the Old Faithful, and that was that. But that's what my life is like.
but you
Like
have
my wife.
this story now that you get to share with everybody, which is hilariously, awesomely. I'm not surprised, and I'm part of it, and I know it, and so that's why I'm giggling because like I know who you are, and I know what you do, and I'm not surprised, and I just love how it's just like, well, bam, well, bam, well, bam.
It's just how I am, because you
Yeah,
touched
I
on
love
it very, very clearly. People do not walk around with purpose or courage. I fear nothing. I promise. Like if I was to die tomorrow, I'm dying a happy man, and it's not my choice anyway. We don't choose our time. You can go at
it.
any moment. You might as well live while you're here. But most people waste all their lives, and they sit on their deathbed going, "I wish I did this. I wish I did that." I will not be doing that. I promise you, I will not be like dying one day telling my grandkids that I wish I would have done this. Actually, I'm never even getting old. I will die whenever I die, but I'm not aging. Like it's not like that. Like, oh, I'm 70 years old. I'm gonna die soon. No, I'm glad I woke up this morning. I'm not gonna be that person. If I die at 87 years old, I'm happy. If I die, 55, whatever it is, I don't care. I'm just gonna live till the end. Which is
It's
which is
your
people
purpose. Your purpose is to enjoy your life, and if you're not enjoying your life, what's the point in living?
right. I'm a giver. Like I know what I am. Most of the people out there, they think that they're givers, but they stop giving when people piss them off. So what was your intention of giving? Where was your intention when you gave? To get a reward? Yeah. When people tell, like when I help people and they don't even thank me, I want to rip their throats out. I really do. Like not.
It's the state of unattachment. That is what is suffocating us, is the constant levels of attachment that we have. And what you do is unattached. And that's why there's pureness to it, because you don't want anything in return.
I don't. I want
It's,
happiness.
I do this, give me that. That is
Yeah.
the destruction of our society. And the concept of what we are creating in this new harmonious world is a constant giving and receiving and paying it forward. When you do that, it's sustainable. That's your life force that fuels you. It's a very different and backwards to what we're used to, but you're living it. And that's why you feel fueled and you love it, because you're in your purpose of
Oh yeah.
this constant sustainable giving and receiving. Very different than the society that we know and have grown up in.
Yeah. People don't understand. Or like they don't understand. Like so, like when I do something for somebody and they don't thank me or don't show some level of appreciation, I just disconnect them. Like they don't have me anymore. That's all that happens, and I'm
Yeah.
on to the. And
Yeah.
people like, and most kind people just don't fully understand that giving is their happiness, and they wonder why they're so miserable. It's because they stopped giving.
I
So they
want
just
to pause on that for a second, because that took me a long, long time to absorb, to realize, to wrap my head around. Because for a long time, like working in corporate, it's you've got a list of people you got to call because you got to sell them stuff because ultimately they need to pay your bills to live. What are you going to do for me? I'm going to sell you this so that I can get something from you. When I learned my purpose is to just give, not receive. I mean, there is the giving and the receiving, but it's that unattached. And just let me just help you. I don't want anything in return. I just want you to feel good. And if you give something, I will graciously receive it because I'm worthy to receive, but I don't expect to receive something from you. Changed my life.
Well, did you figure out? Did you figure out that receiving is the greatest form of giving? Like that's what most people don't understand. Like when I'm helping somebody and they want to do something for me, I'm always like, no, no, no. And when they force the issue, it is what it is. But I will only receive from someone who I would give to. And when you receive from somebody like that, you're actually giving them happiness. And when you push them away, you're taking it away from them. Because what if, and just what if, they're givers too? So by saying no to someone who's trying to show appreciation, a lot of times you're creating pain for that person who's just trying to be nice. And then when you could be creating actual happiness, which is the strongest thing, like I give happiness all the time with my gifts. There's nothing stronger than that. Like I have someone that I talked to yesterday that's on cloud nine today, and her life had no meaning yesterday. Like I spent probably 4 hours of texting back and forth and this and that, and she couldn't believe it. And then today I text her, "How are you feeling?" And then she just sent me a picture of herself. She goes, "How do I look like I'm feeling?" And she was smiling and she was happy. And I said, "You're almost there," because I could tell she was working on it still in her brain, getting to that happy point. But boy, was she in a better place. It's
Yeah.
just this, and then when then she goes, "What am I going to be able to do for you? For all that you've done for me?" And I go, "Do you really want to do something for me?" She goes, "Yes, anything you want, I will do." Okay, well, pay it forward. Go find someone who is struggling the way you were when I found you. And when I found you, you were in pain yesterday, right? She goes, and I said, "You're not in pain today." She goes, "No." So you've now survived your pain. So that means your pain doesn't exist anymore. So now you can go to someone who's surviving it with experience that you have and survive them faster and get them through it faster and save them 10 years of their life. And she goes, "Done." She goes, "Done. I'm so in. That's exactly what I want to do." So once we all start paying it forward, guess what? This ain't going to take too long. This is going to be a very quick process. Everyone does good and then pays it forward good.
And it took me a long time to realize this. And this is the foundation of the business and why we've connected because my business is anchored on paying it forward. Self leadership, empowering leadership harmony, and paying it forward. And I love that you said that because it's such an easy thing to do that people don't realize there's so much depth to it. And going back to that mystic and psychic that said, don't burn yourself out, slow down. When you slow down and you enjoy the richness of the moment, you get to just receive so much more because it's potent and it's impactful and it's a deeper pay it forward than just, throwing it all around. So love it, love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Do you want to know the fun? My medium relationship?
What's that?
She, my relationship with my medium is intense. Like she's like my person. She started everything for me, but it started off with me actually calling her a fraud, just to show you the level of idiocracy of people and not knowing things. I run a car dealership, so she was a customer of mine. I actually had her fill out an application for to get the car, and on there for a source of other income, she put medium. I said, "What's this?" She goes, I don't like to talk about that." She goes, I go, "Why'd you put it there?" She goes, "Well, most people don't understand it, so it's not worth talking about." So she already knew that I was an idiot because she wasn't getting into it. And she goes, "Well, I can, kind of see the future and, dead people and stuff like that." I go, so you're a fraud. And she goes, "I'm not a fraud." And I go, "I can't imagine you be like the nicest lady I've ever met." And she goes, "Let's just not talk about it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." An hour and a half later, but I call her up an hour and a half later. I just met her this morning, but I was like fascinated by how this woman could do such things and be such a great person. So I said, "Can you tell me, please, how you're not a fraud?" She goes, "All right, I'll tell you how." She goes, "How about I read you right now, and then you'll stop calling me a fraud?" I go, "Go ahead." And then she went in like to when I was like 7, 8 years old and stuff like that, and everything she said was like undeniable, everything. I'm like, "Oh my God, Lisa, I'm so sorry. Like I'm sorry I said those bad things about you. Obviously, you're the. And then through that particular episode, I went into when I was a child and things happened to me, and then I corrected them. Like the things that were bothering me for 30 something years, I attacked. Everything she talked about, I went after. And then I called her up a couple months later. I said, "Hey, can you read me again?" She says, "Sure, I'll read you again." I go, "What do you see?" She says, "I don't see anything." Like, what do you mean you don't see anything? You saw all this stuff. She goes, "I'm not going to remember all that stuff." I go, "But you had to see, you don't see anything?" She goes, "Actually, I do see something." I go, "What is it?" She goes, "The brightest light I've ever seen." I'm like, "Oh, what does that mean?" She goes, "I have no idea." And then 2 days later, I found God. So you talk about people of influence into your life. I was, agnostic ish or whatever, like I could care less. And then next thing you know, I'm one with the higher power, like with no doubt from this one experience.
You know what's so cool? I just wrote something I'm going to share on social media before we talked about my initial awakening, which was 7-ish years ago. And I literally had this divine person dropped into my world, and she was an energy healer. I had no idea what energy healing was, but she was in my world and she literally changed the trajectory. I didn't know what chakras were, I didn't know what meditation was. Um, None of that. And I actually just got Reiki attunement yesterday. And so I'm so excited and I love how it's come full circle. And I love energy healing. And I love with this woman the same thing. It's almost like the time was dropped in. She put this on her application to spur a conversation. And like you said, 2 days later, your life took a different path. Like I love, and you have to be in the right frame of mind in the right place to receive it. And you were ready and you're on a different path. And it's really beautiful. And I love that you're sharing your gift with those around you. I would love for you to share with people as we close here, how people can connect with you now, so you can help them heal their pain.
Well, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn,
Mm.
when Cary Rose, so that's pretty easy to find. And I got big flashing lions as my, I guess my image is a burning lion. So I'm not hard to find. If you put in spiritual, I'll pop up probably as well. Um, I mean, I'll give all my contact information. I don't care. I just the only thing
I'm gonna have it all listed in the bottom so people can connect into it. And you cut out, so it's Cary Rose on LinkedIn because you cut out there
yeah.
for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah. So then I guess if it's all going to be listed there on the page, I don't care if people email me, they text me. I don't. Any way you want to get to me, just get to me, and just understand I cannot physically heal you if you're not one with your own higher power. Like I only can heal people with absolute beliefs.
Yeah.
So the world is coming to an end, but a lot of people still believe in their God with all their hearts, and those are the people I can heal. I can't heal people that are doubters because doubters, shouldn't even be doing it to begin with. Because what we're talking about is the Almighty or the everything or the authority. No type of authority figure will ever accept disrespect and then be helpful. So I know that my higher power just expects my happiness and expects me to respect it and understand that everything happens for a reason, good and bad. And when you believe that fully, everything bad becomes good because it's happening for a reason. Like it's a different mindset. It really is.
Yeah.
But I need
Yeah.
that higher power belief to solve problems like marriages, stuff like that. I don't need belief for that. I don't need anything for that type of stuff. All of it's really obvious to me, and I apologize for making it seem so simple. But like, if you love somebody, then you love them. But if you're trying to love somebody, you're with the wrong person, no matter what. Like, you can't try to love. It's not something that's tryable. It's either doable or not doable. And a lot of people are loyal and stuck to people and miserable for too many years. So I don't mind any problem solving I can do for anybody. So strictly women, though, I really can't stand men. But that's the other part.
And we're also going to host a masterclass in my community. So stay tuned for information on that. And we'll put all of your contact information at the bottom. You're mostly in LinkedIn. And then if anybody has any other questions, feel free to message me and I can put you in touch. Thank you so much for sharing this empowering space with us today. It's been an honor and a privilege. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you more in the future. Have a great day, everybody. See you later.